Welcome to today's Explainer. So, we are taking a highly sensational geopolitical comment, one that's been absolutely dominating the headlines, and we're going to completely unpack it. We're pulling back the curtain to find the surprising, data-driven reality that's hiding just beneath all that political rhetoric. Because, as we know with international relations, what you see on the surface, it's literally never the full story.
Okay, to set the stage here, we need to look at some incredibly bold and honestly pretty controversial statements coming from some top-tier political figures. On one hand, you've got American politician J.D. Vance joking that the first truly Islamist country to get a nuclear weapon might actually be the UK, simply because the Labour Party took over. And then on the other side, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu recently called the United Kingdom the Islamic Republic of Britain. Now keep in mind, these are historically close allies of the UK. So what exactly is going on here? Why are allied nations throwing around such heavy, aggressive geopolitical taunts? Well, that's the central mystery we are solving today, and we're going to use hard facts to do it.
Before we even look at the UK, we've got to examine the literal meaning of this claim. Like, what exactly is an Islamic Republic? Declaring a nation an Islamic Republic isn't just some throwaway insult. It's actually a massive, highly specific geopolitical designation. It basically means the state is a theocracy. Its constitution, how the government operates, its laws, they're all primarily rooted in Islamic faith and ideology. This is fundamentally different from a nation running on, say, capitalism or socialism. It's a very, very specific way of running a country. And get this, out of all the countries on Earth, even if you just look at the 40 to 50 Muslim-majority countries, there are literally only 3 that officially declare themselves to be an Islamic republic. First, we have Iran, which operates heavily on Sharia law. Second is Mauritania, an African nation that also heavily integrates Sharia law. And finally, we have Pakistan. Now, Pakistan is a super fascinating case. They claim the official Islamic Republic status, but functionally, their legal system is actually based on common law, not strict Sharia law. So when Netanyahu calls the UK an Islamic Republic, he's grouping them into a very exclusive, highly specific list of just 3 countries.
All right, so we know what an Islamic Republic is on paper, but does the United Kingdom actually fit this demographic profile? Are there massive population shifts happening that would justify this kind of rhetoric from Israeli and American politicians? Well, let's strip away all the feelings and the political noise for a second, and let's just look at the actual hard numbers. Here is the reality. According to the most current surveys and data, the Muslim population in the United Kingdom sits at roughly 6 to 8%. Now, I know, on the ground, some people might claim it feels like there have been massive demographic changes. You'll sometimes hear informal estimates throwing around numbers like 10 to 15%. But the official, actual data we have clearly shows that the Muslim population is still very much a clear minority. But, what about the future? The population is growing rapidly, for sure. If we look at forecasts for the year 2050, in a medium immigration scenario, the UK's Muslim population is projected to reach around 16 to 17%. And under a high immigration scenario, it could hit 17 to 18%. To put that into perspective, by that exact same year, Sweden's projected Muslim population is expected to cross the 20% mark. So, yes, demographic growth is absolutely happening. But even looking 3 decades into the future, an 18% demographic peak simply doesn't reflect the political rhetoric of a complete majority takeover or the establishment of a theocratic state.
Now, here is where we hit an incredible demographic irony. It's kind of wild, actually. We just established that the UK has a Muslim population of about 8%. Yet Israel, the very country whose prime minister is throwing out the Islamic Republic taunt, actually has a significantly higher percentage. Roughly 18 to 20% of Israel's own population follows the Islamic faith, living right alongside the 60 to 65% who follow Judaism. So if you're looking strictly at percentages and demographics, Israel has more than double the Muslim population of the UK, which totally invalidates the idea that Netanyahu's comments are based on demographic reality.
So what does this all mean? If the population data completely contradicts the rhetoric, we have to put on our geopolitical detective hats for a minute. What is the real reason behind these statements? Why is Israel tossing out these heavy insults? Well, if demographics aren't the true cause of the tension, we absolutely have to look at shifting diplomacy. And this right here is where the story actually lies. Historically, we're talking going back to the 1960s and 1970s, the UK's foreign policy was all about strong vocal support for Israel. This was especially obvious during conflicts like the Six-Day War, where the UK firmly had Israel's back. But contrast that with today. The UK's stance has dramatically transformed. Recently, the British government has increasingly issued criticism and even outright condemnation of Israel's military actions, specifically regarding their operations in Gaza and Lebanon. So what we're actually hearing from Netanyahu isn't some demographic analysis. It's deep, profound frustration over losing a historically staunch ally on the global stage. So the absolutely crucial point here is understanding why the UK's foreign policy has shifted, and it correlates directly with a changing domestic political landscape. While they're still minority, the political presence of minority demographics in the UK has grown significantly. I mean, you can see this with the election of a Muslim mayor in London. You can see it right in the halls of the UK Parliament, where there's an increased number of Muslim members of Parliament. These representatives are actively using their platforms to raise concerns and advocate for policy shifts regarding the situations in Gaza and Lebanon. It's really just a natural evolution of a diversifying political spectrum, bringing totally new voices into foreign policy discussions. But remember, you can't separate the political and domestic context. They're so intertwined. And what improvements come as evolving policies are going to be politically different. But wait, because there is one final, hidden layer to this geopolitical puzzle. And honestly, it is a massive espionage twist. Beyond the halls of Parliament, we've been seeing massive, totally unprecedented anti-Israel street protests erupting all across the UK and the US. And these protests have put immense pressure on local officials. But you have to ask, where exactly did this sudden, overwhelming surge in street-level mobilization come from? Well, the answer might not be entirely organic. According to some really explosive recent intelligence, we're actually looking at allegations of major foreign interference. Let's walk through the steps of a recent report handed over to the US and UK by Israel's intelligence agency, Mossad, details of which have recently surfaced in publications like The Telegraph. Step 1. The report alleges that Chinese state entities and government-linked companies are allocating covert funds. Step 2. These funds are allegedly being routed through complex networks to pay professional protesters and even YouTubers in the UK and the US. Step 3. These paid professionals act as catalysts. You pay one person, and they mobilize a localized crowd of, say, 100 to 300 people. And finally, step 4, when this happens simultaneously across multiple cities, this rapid mobilization creates the illusion of a sudden, massive, grassroots anti-Israel protest. Basically, Israel is telling the UK, look at the money trail. Look at how these protests are being artificially amplified by foreign powers like China to force your hand on foreign policy. Which brings us to the ultimate question. We've seen the actual demographic reality. We've traced the shifting political landscape and the resulting diplomatic friction. And now we have these massive allegations of foreign-funded espionage aiming to manipulate public protests. So, what happens next? Will the United Kingdom take serious action to investigate these intelligence reports regarding Chinese interference? Or has the geopolitical rift between the UK and Israel already grown just too wide to bridge? It's a fascinating standoff where data, diplomacy, and covert operations collide, and the fallout is going to shape international relations for years to come. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.